Remember, you're a champion. You are champion. Remember, you're a champion.
G'day everyone, welcome again to the chat. It was the All-Star Mile last Saturday. Very exciting time for racing here in Victoria and in Australia as well. And we saw Mugatoo kick home and win the race. And joining me today is Jamie Lovett from Australian Bloodstock. G'day Jamie, how are you mate?
Good Ben, yourself mate?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Obviously you guys are the ones that syndicated Mugatoo, so you must be very excited and still on cloud nine after last Saturday.
Yeah, certainly a big thrill mate. I've had a horse that's delivered, I guess he's never really let us down. We've had him now for, that's his third preparation and he just continues to lift the bar.
And I believe we were talking before I pressed the record button and you weren't able to get there. You were at a wedding on Saturday. So were you cheering at the phone when you were at a wedding?
Yeah, as luck would have it, mate. We had a prior commitments. Obviously, with Mugatoo not getting into the race until he received that wild card, we sort of couldn't plan ahead. So it was one of those things. You happy wife, happy life. I had to take a bullet and go to the wedding.
What's next in the pipeline for Mugatoo?
Mate, I would suggest at this stage he'll run. We're just going to weigh up our options. We'll wait and see what happens on the weekend. Realistically, if a day ebb and very elegant clear out, it would be fair to say that they're nearly unbeatable in the Queen Elizabeth, the way the tracks are going to present over the carnival. So we would possibly look at going to the Doncaster, which is pretty well in with 55. He's been a horse that, in my view, has been poorly handicapped in the past, where he was fairly harshly weighted in a Metrop. But in this instance, I think he's quite well in, given that since the Metrop, he's obviously gone on and ran fourth in a Cox Plate and won the All-Star Mile. So I think with 55, if we got conditions to suit, we'd certainly have a look at an All-Star Mile. At a Doncaster handicap.
You guys, Australian Bloodstock and OTI, which is Terry Henderson, seem to be the only two syndicators who consistently source horses from Europe. Why do you feel that is? Why don't more syndicators do it?
Oh, look, I mean, for us, Bennett, it's been there's a lot of work early days it's not just a case of, I mean, look, there wouldn't be a morning go by where I don't open the computer and there's an agent in Europe trying to sell your horse. So yeah, it would be easy for the guys to just jump on and buy one. But look, for us, there's a lot goes into it. We've got a good infrastructure set up in both the UK and Europe. Parts of France, we've got some good networks as well. So it's more a case of identifying the right horses and then backing your judgment. We have got a guy on the ground there in Germany that we fly throughout Europe to go and inspect the horses. If we like their form lines and we think we can buy them, then we fly our man down from Germany, and that's become a little bit more of an issue, obviously, during this COVID period, moving around Europe. But previously, it's been fairly easy. Obviously, Europe's a lot easier to move around than what it is travelling from Australia. So for us, I think it's just we've got the infrastructure in place and you know, to be fair, we're very lucky. We've got the backing and support of some very good owners that have had success with us in the past, and they're happy to back our judgment.
You mentioned Germany. I reckon probably the real PR machine for you guys back in those early days was Protectionist. How did you guys come to have Protectionist when it went up before it went?
Yeah, look, I mean, Protectionist is the most well-remembered horse out of Germany, but prior to Protectionist, we'd had a lot of luck with Lucas Cranach and Mar Wingo and these sorts of horses. Salon Soldier, just get rid of that. Salon Soldier. Turf Donner was another one we won a German Oaks with in Germany. Salamina, we won a German Oaks. So, pardon me, we'd had a lot of luck in Germany, and as it evolved, we sort of built some good relationships over there. And Dr. Christoph Bergler, who bred Protectionist, he was a guy that we had a relationship with over there. So we were able to acquire 50% in the horse. And he went on and won the Kergolay and then come out here for the Melbourne Cup. And yeah, as it turned out, he was the horse. He ran a slashing race in the Herbert Powell where he was a Craig Williams rode him for us and looked after him, and he ran home and ran fourth. And then he was obviously the horse that we were supremely confident could win the Melbourne Cup. And as history would show, he got the job done.
If someone's thinking of choosing Australian Bloodstock as their syndicator, why should they choose you guys?
Oh, look, I mean, everyone's going to tell you something about their own business, but look, for us, it's a fairly simple model. Luke and I, we're the guys that do the homework and select the horses, and then take it a step further, we put our own money into them. So, you know, we ride the highs and the lows. If we get it wrong, then we feel the pain, the financial pain. If we get it right, then we're well and truly rewarded. And Saturday's testament to that. You know, it's a $5 million race. There's a horse that has now won $3.5 million. And fortunately for us, we're going to share in him. And like our owners, they've all got a good payday coming. So it's just a case of, I guess, backing your own judgment, being fully transparent. And I guess like any business, Ben, our biggest I guess referral business is probably the biggest thing in our business that has enabled us to grow, because we probably don't have the marketing budget of a lot of these other guys that you see banging their ads out on the TV all the time. We just rely on obviously our silks, and I think your biggest thing that people identify with is your racing silks, and that's your brand. So the more winners you get, the more times that you pick up a paper and you see your colours in the paper, or you jump on a website and I mean, look, to give you an idea, we got some very good feedback out of Europe over the weekend. The TDN ran a very good story on Mugatoo, and talking to Graham Motion, a trainer in America, and Jamie Spencer, a jockey, and David Simcock, a trainer in here. They all made mention of it. So I think for us, the biggest thing is just backing your judgment and getting the job done. And if you can win enough races, then people identify with you, and that's your brand, and you're judged on your success.
And you talk about selecting, Jamie. I think I saw you at the Gold Coast yearling sale this year. Have you guys been active at other sales as well, or just the Gold Coast? Have you picked any up, and are there any shares available?
Yeah, Ben, look, we were quite active at the Gold Coast. We spent the best part of $3 million on yearlings, so we really went hard there. And then as a result of that, we backed off a little for the classic sale, but we're going to be up in the Hunter Valley inspecting yearlings in the next 10 days prior to Easter. Look, again, the yearling market has been quite incredible how strong it's been. So we'll certainly we'll be there, but I won't be chasing them. Some of the prices, I just noticed the Magic Millions in Adelaide and the recent sale up at the Gold Coast, it's quite uncanny how strong they are. So we'll be there, but as to whether we buy will be determined by where the prices, where they land, and obviously the average is quite strong on all these sales. But we bought a nice American Pharaoh colt down, which I thought was, looking at prices, was exceptional value. And I've still got about 20% left in him. He's on our website at the moment. He'd be one that you're not going to get up and go early, but he's obviously by a Triple Crown winner, and he's got a nice little pedigree. The mare's already done a good job, and he's a very straightforward colt. But we just thought, he's not going to be a 2-year-old, but he'll be hopefully a nice sort of horse that gets out to the trip. And a couple of very good judges there made comment that we thought he was exceptional good value at 100,000. So he'd be the one that I'd be happy to get behind and push people into. And who knows, he might be a sort of a derby type. He reminded us a lot of we bought that Piero horse Furor a number of years ago in New Zealand. He was a bit of a backward sort of looking Piero at the time, and nobody sort of was on him, and we just thought he might be one to put away. And this horse does remind me a lot of him, and Chris Lee's made that comment himself. We sort of bought him because he's a bit backward and similar to this horse. Got a lovely pedigree, very correct, and just probably need a little bit of time.
And I think one of the point of differences that you guys have too is you have your own sort of sculling farm as well. Can you tell me a bit about that?
Yeah, look, I mean, that eventuate, we've had the farm now for 3 years. It was more just a case of, look, as you know, Ben, with your business, with technology today, owners expect updates, and they obviously, gone are the days where you can buy a share in a horse and then you just get an email or get a phone call to say it's racing on Saturday. You need to be giving constant, and because of the volume of horses that we had at the time, we had 40 odd in Melbourne, and we had 70 in training with Chris Lees and pre-trainers and breakers, and it was just becoming a little bit unmanageable. So we sort of went out on a limb, and at the time we'd had a bit of luck. I think Toast and Stardom and we'd sold him off to stud. So financially, we put ourselves in a position to I guess, make the acquisition of the farm. And it's taken us 3 years. We're obviously upgrading infrastructure, and we've got 2 or 3 very good horse breakers that work for us now. And we're able to then, I'm down there most days, and it just gives you a really good handle on where the business is, with where the horses are coming through. The yearlings are broken, the spellers are there, a few mares on the place. It's a bit of an overview of the whole business, and it's there on the one property. So from a logistical point of view, it just makes life a lot easier, and I just think it gives us an edge where you know where everything's up to. And look, we're not the only ones that do it, no doubt. There's plenty of others, but for us, it just works. And particularly with Chris Lees in Newcastle, because our truck runs up, we'll take half a dozen yearlings that have been broken. They'll get educated. They'll go up and they'll spend a few weeks with Chris after they're pre-trained at our place, and then we'll swap them over. They'll come. The ones that have had enough, or the spellers, will come home. And likewise, when we race on a Saturday, we can drop them off on a Saturday after the races. They'll have 2 days in a paddock, so they're not going back into a box. They clear their head, and then we send them back up to Chris, and they'll go up Tuesday morning, or they'll go back under saddle Tuesday, Wednesday at Newcastle.
Do you think, Jamie, there'll ever be a day where we breed some nice staying horses in Australia and don't have to source them from New Zealand or Europe as much as we currently do? Because we used to breed some decent stays in this country. Yeah,
look, I'd love that to be the case, but the more and more I go to sales, and the more I see the money offered for these fast, early running colts, you just wonder whether it'll ever happen again. I mean, hopefully, New Zealand was always the place you would go to buy them, so you'd like to think they could. There's a horse over there, Tarzino. He's the sort of profile horse. We've got a couple in our business now that they look like they're showing a little bit. And I know the wraps are pretty good. Mick Price has told me they've got some lovely Tarzinos. Actually, here's another one. We bought a Tarzino with Mick Price in New Zealand for that reason on the back of that, and I think there's still a few shares in him. Those sort of horses that historically have been bred in New Zealand, they make really nice classic type horses, Derbies and Oaks sort of horses. As to Australia, look, Coolmore's tried, but they look at Camelot and the likes of, they just didn't get support when they come here. So I just wonder, mate, whether it will ever happen. It's a sad to say, but this obsession with breeding speed over speed, I just don't know whether the commercial reality is they're very hard to sell. So because people are going to wait so long for them. So I just wonder whether it will ever come back around.
Yeah, I just think too, Jamie, also a lot of people here that are in Australia that are owners, they're not very patient, because with a stay, you've got to be extremely patient, don't you?
Absolutely. And I don't think it's just in Europe. We race plenty of horses in Europe, and they're no different. Now they're even, where a lot of the older trainers and owners, they're still willing to wait. But I think the world's changed, and we want a quick return on our money. And the reality is, you buy a yearling if he's bred to get ground, he mightn't race till he's late 3-year-old. So the money that you put into a yearling, and to find out, you might get him to a 3-year-old and find out he's no good. So, and I guess, look, to be honest, and selfishly, that's probably really helped us with our model, because for argument's sake, last December we went and bought 11 horses at the Tattersall sale in the UK for a number of trainers, Kieran Maher and David Eustace, Mick Price, Chris Lees, and basically had those horses sold within 7 days. So that tells you the demand's there, both for the trainers and the clients. And now those horses have hit the ground, and there's another little horse there, that Ironclad, that is racing in Adelaide. He's won 3 out of 3, and the owners there, they've just gone straight to the races. And Will Clarkin's done a good job with him over there. Those guys have got a return on their money straight away. So you can see why people don't really want to wait. When you know what you get, if you know your form, they're going to bring that form from Europe or the UK and reproduce it in Australia, and you get a result straight away. Yep.
Are you still working in real estate, or is racing now a full-time job for you?
No, mate. Geez, 7 years ago we sold that. So that was sort of what I was still doing. Obviously, we're doing Australian Bloodstock work and still trying to run that business from afar, but it was just getting too hectic, and it was a case I was I've got 4 kids as well, trying to spread the time. It just wasn't feasible. So we sold that, and we went boots and all. And fortunately for us, we've sort of, when you can devote more time to it, you get better at it, and obviously the results have come.
And away from racing, what's life for Jamie Lovett?
As I say, I've got 4 kids, mate, so I don't have any trouble filling my days in. I'm very fortunate. A 20, nearly 21-year-old son, an 18-year-old daughter, a 14-year-old daughter, and a 7-year-old daughter. So with their netball and my young blokes back playing football, there's always something. If I'm not going to the races, there's plenty to do on a weekend, and I'm pretty lucky, mate.
And do the kids show any interest in the races at all?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been very lucky on the bigger days. Even the 14 Melbourne Cup, they're all there with me, and my wife and I. And my young bloke, he spent a bit of time at the farm, so he's just come out of his time. He's a tradesman now, but he's got an interest and a passion. So I see at some stage we'll get him down there, and I'd love to learn how to break him in. We've got some very good guys there that would be good guys to learn that craft, and it's just something that, it's, if you've got a passion for it, once it's in your blood, it's very hard to get it out, and he appears to them. I think my daughters are more on my wife's side. They just enjoy the fashion side of it and get into the races. But, races like the All-Star Mile and the Everest and that, it certainly worked, because I noticed just with my kids, and like my eldest daughter, she's been to 3 of the Everests, and she doesn't go to a lot of other race meetings, but that seems to be the race that younger demographics seem to gravitate towards. I think Peter Volandis, when he came up with that idea, it was a master stroke, and Greg Carpenter with the All-Star Mile, they've identified that there's a bit of a mainstream audience, and they've certainly, I think it's fantastic. I mean, the more you can do to encourage participation, the more we should do, because we're blessed here in Australia with our prize money and the way that the racing bodies control racing, and we're in a look at the yearling sales. I mean, we're just in an industry, we're in the middle of a pandemic, and we're thriving. So there's a lot to be said for that.
And last but not least, Jamie, the most thrilling win as an owner or syndicator for yourself?
Oh, the 2014 Melbourne Cup. I mean, it's when Luke and I first met, I still remember the first time was, like you've got to have a goal and you've got to have a dream, and we both wanted to win a Melbourne Cup. So from that day forward, that's what we basically rolled the sleeves up, and we tried, and we had a few runners, and I think the more we failed, the more determined we were to try and win that race and become my wife says to me all the time, I got become a bit obsessive for a while there, where every day and night we're watching races and trying to acquire horses just to win that. It was like the day after the Melbourne Cup, it was like 11 months and 3 weeks now of work to get to the next one, But so when we did it, it was just a massive relief, and it's something that I don't think, I get a big thrill when we win races, but there'll be nothing will ever replace that.
Okay, Jamie Lovett from Australian Bloodstock. Thanks for joining me today. Really appreciate it, mate.
Pleasure, man. Good on you, mate.
Thank
Cheers.
you.